Yo, what's up guys? Let's talk about World Boss. You might have noticed that World Boss is giving a lot better drops right now. Pretty much like a month ago we had the update and it just been giving a lot better drops. It's been giving all kinds of like, back in the days we get like 3-star white runes on it, that kind of crap. These days if you get triple S, you get pretty much, I think it's just purple and legendary runes. Same for artifacts. You are able to get, well, Devilmont and legendary scrolls and LD scrolls were in there already. But there's also the possibility of getting anything related towards like re-ups right now. Guys, I'm curious and let me know this in the comments as well. Personally, I think everyone is getting full triple S's on like pretty much all 3 of them because it's not that hard. However, quite a bunch of the people I spoke to said that I'm not getting triple S on, especially the 30. So let me know in the comments, what is your damage, average kind of stuff, on the 3rd team of your role boss. So from there I can also get some input if this kind of stuff is actually used for you people or everyone is just zooming through it. Because role boss is something you just have to focus on for probably 1 or 2 days, and then you're gonna benefit that for as long as you have out there. It's pretty much one of those benefits as like getting the crystal golem. It's one of those things, it costs a little bit of time, a little bit of resources early on, but then you're gonna progress through that for a very long time, because getting triple S's right now is a lot more beneficial than just going for the double S or even the single S. And I'm gonna show you how and why in this video. Let's get to it. So I only got re-ups once, but yeah, the drops in this is a lot better. And okay, this one is actually one of the worst I've seen, but you do get a lot better drops. Thing might be like, okay, you're not really on the triple S of all 3 of your teams, but I highly recommend to aim for something that you actually get all triple S on those teams. And it's actually not that difficult because since artifacts came in, it's pretty easy to get pretty high ranks. Even my alt is getting triple S on the 1st team already. On the 3rd team, it's 1.2 mil. So I thought like, okay, maybe it's more people struggling with it. So let me give you a few tips. I have more videos that are really explicit into just talking about role boss, how do they work and that kind of stuff. But I'll just give you like a bunch of tips to just get you on point of like saying like, okay, what helps? So first of all, I would say split teams. And let me make this a little bit bigger. So what does split teams mean? Well, you probably do auto assign. If your first team is getting, for example, let's say you have team 1 is 2.5 and then team 2 is this and then team 3 is the one where you're like, okay, we're a lot lower on this. The easiest thing you could do, let's say that this is my team 1, is saying like, okay, I'll put 2 units from here and I place like 2 units that are further down in the back. What that would mean is that these 2 units will lower this to probably going like this or this, and then this probably going here. It's kind of like a little bit of min-maxing for you, like, okay, how much do you actually have to take from the front and how much are you allowed to take from the front? Because there's this damage fluctuation between like, I think it's like about 200, 300k. So you have to keep that in mind, like, okay, how many units from the front do I have to steal to go to the back? And the thing is, you have to do that for your first team, but also for your second team if you want to add them to your third team. Because otherwise your auto assign of your first 2 best units will actually come from your first team to the second team and not necessarily distribute to the third team. And then the third team, that is where you actually want them. So what you could do is say like, okay, in the first team I remove 2, and then in the second team you remove 4. And then you just add those from like the back over here or something, or you add them like further back. Something like that. That is the easiest way to distribute teams. Like if your third team is just on edge where you're not really getting enough. And that's by far the easiest way to do it. And I think a lot of people will already be helped with that. And I think a lot of people will already be close to triple S on that way. However, if that is not the case, then we have a few more tips. I'm not sure if I'm going to go all the way to 7, but there are probably a few more. Another tip that I can give is check all of your unruined units. What does unit check mean? Well, the thing is, most of the units that are useful for role balls is water. Main reason that it's water is because the element is water and fire. They thought about changing that ever, but they never did. But that is totally fine. Doesn't really matter all too much. I think if they changed it right now, it's a little bit too late anyways. And a lot of people like have been building a lot of water units for it. Because water is 1 counter element and 1 neutral element. So that is the best. It's even better than light and dark because that's just 2 neutral elements. Whereas like fire is the worst one because it's a negative and a neutral. And wind is 1 positive, 1 negative. So that also makes double same or something like that. So that makes it that water is the best. So what you want to check is if all of your water units have runes. And you can just simply check that from here and check if they have runes and artifacts. And the moment that they don't have, like I know this one, for example, doesn't have, I'm like, okay, just gonna give anything. I will look into what specific stats works best in a second as well. If we check them right now, and we go out and we go in again, we can see that NFL is actually on the first spot. And you probably have a bunch of those water units that you're not really using too much, or you just took some runes for this or that. Those kind of units probably end up one of the highest on World Boss. Like I'm pretty sure if I add this one with a high rune over here, that's not really the craziest of runes. This one is actually not too bad. Would have to max it out, of course. And then if we place this in, I'm pretty sure that this will even pops up before the NFL if we go for the redo. Once again, redo. Okay, right after the NFL. So that is checking runes. Checking runes is definitely an easy way, or checking your units, and that's definitely one of the easier ways, like, especially for the late team, where you're like, oh, I actually have a whole bunch of units that are not really ruined right now. They're just missing one or two things, and especially look for those water units, which also comes into build water units. Water is just for the right element. That's the main thing. So what are also the easiest units to build? Well, a lot of people would say, and that was back in the days kind of the idea, like, okay, you're gonna get a lot of these water Bernards. This one is pretty decent, but it's not that great. And the easiest unit to build actually is a Gildong. And I have got this question before, and why so many Gildongs? Well, I have a whole bunch of Gildongs. A whole bunch. Like, they are relatively easy to find. Are they all ruined right now? Most of them are. And they're all ruined for World Boss, while some of them are missing some runes if I took them here or there. But these are the easiest to get for World Boss. Why? Gildong is a 4-star that's skilled up by a 3-star. And how World Boss works is the more skill ups you throw at the unit, the better the unit will perform in most cases. So if you have a unit that has a lot of skill ups, you will definitely probably perform better. So Gildong is by far the easiest take to get your World Boss up. So I would say Gildong. Or what you can do, which is also pretty easy, is focus Water Net 5 first. So if you give your Delphamons and your good stuff to Water Net 5s first, you will definitely improve in World Boss. I could build a lot more Gildongs. I started the process at some point, but at some point I noticed I didn't care as much for World Boss anymore because I get that triple S. For me, it's somewhat sad that they didn't improve, like that they have to make like 2.5 mil to get triple S. That would be pretty cool for me. And going for rank 1 is not really worth it because you literally get like 50 crystals extra every other week, which really has no point for me. I got a lot of these rank 1s way back in the day, but it doesn't even show anywhere. So it really... Oh wait, it does show in here. That's the only place it does show in. But yeah, that really doesn't matter as much. Like, it's just getting those triple S's in, and that's definitely the most important thing. These ranks over here that you get in the end, it's fun and all, but it's not really that interesting. Then next thing we're gonna look at, what runes do you want to focus on a unit? Well, the easiest thing is, what I can say if I go to World Boss, is you want to focus on the stats that's the highest of the base stat of a unit. What does that mean? So for example, NFL is pretty split out on the base stat. So NFL has quite decent HP, attack and defense. And that one doesn't really matter. This one, for example, is higher focused on the defense, but it's still kind of split out. Abelio has pretty high attack as well. This one is more focused on just attack. Like, the HP is really low, the defense is decently low, but the attack is very high. What does that mean? You want to focus on attack on the 2, 4, 6s. You can go away with crit damage slot 4. Crit damage and crit rate slot 4 is not bad because you could have 4 grindable stats in there. But in the slot 2 and the slot 6, you always want to go for whatever is the base stat of that unit. So for example, if we have a Ferret, you pretty much want to go for defense, defense. Also a stat that's really bad is speed. Speed is one of the worst stats for World Boss, so you definitely don't want to be aiming for that. You just want to aim for as many stats as possible. You also want to have completed sets, and that is pretty much just to it. Like, sure, you can test, like, oh, I equip one rune and I check how far it is to the left, because the further they are to the left, the better they will score in general. But yeah, you can go a little bit back and forth on that on like actual testing, but in most cases, it's just going for the high base stats of that unit. For example, this one, it has a lot of crit rate, crit damage, but it doesn't show up that high. So crit rate, crit damage is okay-ish interesting, but not that interesting. It will be a lot more interesting if I build this unit to like 45k HP, he will definitely be all the way on the left. So you want to focus mainly on those base stats that are elevated with like high base stats in here. And you want to be max skilled. Well, in this case, this is a max skilled unit that only has about 9 skill ups. And 9 skill ups units tend to do worse as well compared to other units that actually have like pretty high skill ups. So this one has a lot of skill ups, but all of these runes on here are not that great because it's just speed with pretty much no stats next to it. If I would throw at like a lot of stats in these 3 stats and not that much in this and not that much in these 2, crit rate, crit damage is still not that bad, but I would aim for the 3 stats in here. You will probably do a lot better. Then the question is artifacts. Artifacts help really big. I, to be honest, do not know which line helps more than one other. I'm also not 100% sure if the base stats, I think it would probably matter that you check for a base stat artifact that has something that the unit doesn't have as much. So a HP artifact on this one is a lot more. If you check the numbers, like 1500 on this is a lot higher percentage than an increase of 100 on attack. So you want to go for those HP artifacts or defense artifacts on the units that have low HP, low defense. And that is pretty much the way to go. What kind of artifacts are you looking for then? Well, you want to have like the ones that are either legendary, well, the highest efficiency. That's pretty much the simplest thing. Like the highest efficiency, if it has like bomb damage in it, if it has crit damage taken down, if it has any ridiculous line that totally doesn't make any sense, throw it on a World Boss unit, because on a World Boss unit it actually helps the most. Like it really doesn't. I think there is some logic to it, which line matters the most, but in the end, I think it's pretty simple. It's just the highest efficiency is probably the thing that makes the most sense. And that is just the thing that works the best. So those are actually the general takes. I still have 6 and 7 written down. I don't really think it comes to that. I will go for the World Boss on my alt as well, where I can also show you what is the difference between for like lower ranks. What do you actually get in lower ranks? But in this case, I think a lot of people will already get pretty close to triple S's already. And as you can see, you can actually get some pretty good runes from a World Boss, because I've seen some people get one of their best runes simply from World Boss. It's really insane. But I would say triple S on World Boss is not that difficult to get on your third team. The main thing that you probably have to do is split your teams and check your units. So if you do those two together, you're probably good to go for the triple S's. You maybe have to build some water units, and actually 3 is, well, 4 and 5 is pretty much combined with the 3. But in general, just check whatever units you have that you might not have built yet, and then see from there if you can do anything with it. But yeah, this is a decent amount of drops that you get from just doing this, and if they would roll high, like, they're definitely worth it. Don't really need those. Neither for this one, and neither for, well, let's give it a roll. Why not? So let's go to the alt and let's see how World Boss looks over there. So here on the alt doesn't get as many points for World Boss at all, but let's see that we can implement some of the tips. So actually for my team on World Boss, I get about 2.1 in Team 1. But it can be like just above like 2 mil as well. Team 2 is about like, I think this, and then Team 3 is quite a bit lower. That's something along this line. What could I do the easiest thing for improving the World Boss over here? Well, the easiest thing is just level up these units like the Tractor, the Vigor. I didn't level them up yet. Those are the easiest things to up. Skill ups is definitely something that I could do, and that would up a lot of stats. But what I could see over here is just leveling a lot of the units would already help quite some, rather than just looking at like, okay, what do I have to do else? But also I have a few units like this one, for example, that I could give the skill ups to. I think I have those skill ups right now. And I can give the just the runes to. So I'm not really using this unit anymore. So maybe you don't really want to go for like a full Vio set if you're not really using those too much anymore. But we can just simply check. Even if I don't want to give, like, because I don't have that much mana over here as I have on my main account, of course. But I can just simply check, like, okay, what kind of runes can I kind of miss that probably don't do too much. Okay, this rune was actually bad. It's better to check this on a free rune removal if you're on an account that doesn't have, like, the infinite mana as that my main has. But as you can see that this unit is already improved quite some. Where did it go? Okay, it went up like just a little bit. Didn't went up that much. The slot 4 was actually a bad take on this. Should have went for more attack on there or something. Or in general, wait, I went for defense types and it has really low base defense. Okay, Bad example, very, very bad example, because you have to put full attack to those. Chandra is not ruined right now. So that's also a thing that you can check in. It's like, okay, do I have some storage net 4s or do I have some storage net 5s that are water that I can maybe start, not necessarily build really, but kind of build. And the thing is, the moment that you fix your world boss once and you don't really mess up those units, you don't really have to look at it ever again. So if I simply add in this one and also the other one, where do I have it? I have a bunch more of water units that I farmed a whole bunch of awakened material at some point, so I have plenty of those. Awaken them, actually make them 6-star, make them level 40. That is something that will definitely help a lot on the long run. And this is something that is very good for free-to-play players to aim on early as well, just to simply get those extra rewards in. And once you get those extra rewards in, they will never go away. Like, it's something that the progression will always be there. It's like pretty much very strong horizontal progression of just getting these units to 6-star, throwing some runes at them, even if they're not skilled up yet. Okay, I don't have that much material as I thought at the moment. We need a little bit more of those. I'm not sure if I still have quite some scrolls, but that is definitely something that you could take some time to just for like a few days to focus on and get your world boss higher in that, because let's see the difference between like triple S's. So in this case, I'm not going to do any of the tips, but I'm just going to go for the rewards are that as is, and then see like how big the drop off is and what kind of rewards I'm getting. So in this case, just simply showing what kind of rewards do we get. And for some reason on this emulator, I have to wait for this boss to do all of the skills, but the power of editing. So first team, how much do we get? About 2 mil. So I can't really do splitting too much because I would probably lower this below 2 mil. And that's something you have to be careful for and kind of like test around back and forth. Like how much can you actually do the splitting for to split between that and still get good ones. Too bad. That's a kind of a low roll, but don't have too many of those. Let's give this a little bit of a power up. Let's see how that goes. Not too interesting. Well, then it's a sell. Let's see for the two other teams. I expect like 1.7 and 1.2 or so. How much did we get? 1.8. So just a little bit more to get the 2 mil. And we can already see the drop off. Like, okay, we did get a scroll in this one, but you can already see the drop off and how much mana less you are getting. And we still get some decent mids in this. But if I were to get runes, it was very likely to get blue runes as well. And those are the ones you don't want, of course. This is the one that is going to be a lot worse. So we're going to see like how much this actually drops off in total price as well. And the thing is, you're doing these 3 times a day for just logging in, clicking on the thing. Very simple. This is the easiest content out there. So 1.2. Was kind of okay with my guesses. So as you can see, I'm getting 5-star runes, I'm getting blue of those. I'm still getting lucky to get a mystical scroll, that's just being lucky. But getting those blues in is just useless, getting 5-star runes in is just straight up useless. So that's the reason why you want to up this to like 800k, and that's actually something that I should focus on a little bit. To just simply improve the world boss, because all of those kind of runes are just insta-sells, you don't really need them. Whereas if I was getting a triple S, I would have probably gotten that 6-star rune as a legendary, and then it would have been a lot more useful. So I should actually spend some time to level up all of my units, because I've kind of been procrastinating on that. But just simply level up the units, get some runes to them, get some artifacts to them, throw like high efficient artifacts at them. Probably something that you should do during the time of free rune removal. And just simply get some world boss team together. You only need 60 units. It's not like that you need like a crazy amount of units. If you've been playing for a while, this account is like been running for like I think 3 months right now. So definitely you don't have to start skilling up all kinds of water net 5s. It is an option, like the water net 5s that are skilled definitely will perform best. However, it's not really a must, but you could do certain things saying like, okay, I have a Theomars, I just throw in like the water, or like all of the other Theomarses or all of the other Ifrits into Theomars first. So skill up Theomars first, and then it will do very good for world boss. You could say for the 4-star families that you first focus on the water family until you have the triple S's on all 3 of them, and then you move on to the other ones. So for example, if you get Boomerang Warriors, you first throw them in Sabrina before you start throwing them into maybe one of the others. Same thing with like a bunch of these other 4-stars. Those are definitely options to go for. But in most cases, if you just get like units with some decent artifacts, max leveled, and you just give some stuff to them already, it will definitely be pretty decent already, and you probably will get pretty far. And just make all of your water net 5s that you have to max level 6 star and then give them some runes. And it will probably show up higher and higher in your roll boss as well. And you could even do that for the useful 4 stars that are there. So if you're earlier in the game, definitely would not recommend you to go right away for like guild donks and all of that kind of wasting of resources, because you're never really going to use those units. But there's a lot of water units out there that are very useful, maybe not especially in the early game as much, but you're gonna build over the long time anyway, so you might as well, like for example, I did the Tractor, the Ikaru, the Vigor, the Lulu, the Elusia. Those are all units that you will definitely use at some point for like siege and that kind of stuff, so those are definitely useful units to get in there. And then also, for example, if you have like a Galleon, those kind of things, all kind of water units, there's a lot of useful water units. A Susano, a Julian, a Orion, a Chilling. Miang is pretty useful. Lizelle you could maybe use later. Sion you can probably use later. So all of these units you could think about like, oh, I just start building them. And not necessarily for using them right now. For now, they're just like roll boss storage stuff. And then at some point, I'll probably actually start using them. So that's just a few ways to get your roll balls up. I have 2 more videos down below in the description, which are made like back in 2020, which are also really focused on roll balls, and they maybe have like a few more in-depth tips. But these are just a bunch of tips how to improve your roll balls and why you should improve your roll balls. And this video is way too long already. So guys, thanks a lot for watching, and see you as always in the next one.